Peter Pettigrew, Order of Merlin First Class, more commonly referred to as Wormtail, was at the very least a half-blood wizard. He attended Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, where he was sorted into Gryffindor House. Peter is best known for his unforgiving betrayal of his best friend James Potter and his wife Lily, which ultimately led to their deaths. This is the life of Peter Pettigrew. There is not much information on Peter's early life. He was born in 1960. His mother was a witch, but there was no confirmation that his father was of magical birth. There's actually no mention of his father, so it's possible he died when Peter was young, or he left his wife and son. Either reason could be evidential in identifying Peter's lack of a role model in his life, which is why he may have looked up to his friends so much. Pettigrew began attending Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry in 1971. During his sorting ceremony, the sorting hat wavered between placing him in Slytherin or Gryffindor. After a deliberation of more than 5 minutes, making Pettigrew a hat stall, the sorting hat decided to sort him into Gryffindor. The fact that the hat considered putting him in Slytherin further strengthens the fact that Peter was at least half-blood due to the strict nature of Slytherin House's acceptance criteria. He soon became friends with Sirius Black, James Potter and Remus Lupin, fellow Gryffindors he idolised for their popularity and talent. Peter took part in James and Sirius's bullying of Severus Snape, a Slytherin boy in the same year as the Marauders, though it is unlikely he would have dared to bully Snape without his friends there to protect him. Peter had little self-confidence and self-worth, simply craving to be part of the group. He, James and Sirius soon discovered Remus Lupin to be a werewolf, but they did not abandon him, nor did they inform any students as many other wizards would have. Instead, they spent years learning how to become animagi so that they could accompany Remus during his transformations. Pettigrew's animagus form was a rat, from which his nickname Wormtail was derived. Together, the four friends created an astounding piece of magic with the creation of a map to navigate Hogwarts. It was known as the Marauders Map. Subject to much discussion, the four boys did not actually call themselves the Marauders. Pettigrew's rat form helped him slip through the Whomping Willow's branches and immobilise the tree in order to let himself and the Marauders enter the Shrieking Shack, where Remus's transformations would take place. As far as his academic status, he was not the brightest student. Professor Minerva McGonagall described Pettigrew as a stupid and foolish boy who hero-worshipped Sirius and James. She also stated that Peter was less than an average student and was not capable of fighting with Sirius. She was somewhat harsh with him during their years of student-teacher relationship. After graduating from Hogwarts in 1978, Pettigrew and his friends joined the Order of the Phoenix and fought against Lord Voldemort and the Death Eaters during the First Wizarding War. However, by October 1980, Pettigrew had begun working as a spy for the Dark Lord, having come to believe that nothing could be gained from opposing him. Despite being considered a low-ranking soldier for his cowardice and general lack of usefulness, Pettigrew was given the Dark Mark and accepted into the ranks of the Death Eaters. Despite his fear, he would soon play a crucial role for Voldemort, much to the Dark Lord's surprise. After a prophecy was made regarding Harry Potter and the Dark Lord, James and Lily Potter took their son and went into hiding. In an attempt at misdirection, they were convinced to select Pettigrew as their secret keeper by Sirius Black. It was barely even a week before Pettigrew betrayed his friends to his master, and on Halloween night 1981, Voldemort arrived at Godric's Hollow, entered the Potters' home and murdered James and Lily. However, he was unable to do the same to their son Harry when his killing curse rebounded upon him, destroying his physical form. Upon arriving at the wreckage of the Potters' home, Peter deduced what had happened, took Voldemort's wand, which was left among the rubble, fearing the Ministry would discover his treason through inspecting it, and hid it in an undisclosed location. Peter knew he was on borrowed time, being well aware that Sirius would soon discover what had occurred and would come for him, as apart from James and Lily, Sirius Black was the only person who knew that Peter had been their secret keeper. When he realised what Peter had done, as his hiding place was empty and with no signs of a struggle, he tracked him down, hoping to avenge his friends. When he closed in on him, Pettigrew screamed that Sirius had betrayed the Potters for everyone to hear, and before Black could draw his wand, Pettigrew swiftly pulled out his own from its back and then killed 12 muggles by blowing up the street with a blasting curse, which created a crater so large that the sewer pipes were showing. He then faked his own death by cutting off a finger and leaving it behind as he transformed into a rat and fled. Sirius was arrested for being a Death Eater, killing Pettigrew and the Muggles, and betraying the Potters, and was immediately imprisoned in Azkaban without a trial, destroying his reputation. The surviving Muggles who witnessed the event had their memories erased and were given an excuse by the Muggle-worthy Excuse Committee that a gas leak had occurred. Pettigrew was unjustly awarded the Order of Merlin First Class for his confrontation with Sirius Black, which, along with the finger that they had recovered, were posthumously given to his mother. Even the other remaining marauder, Remus Lupin, believed that Sirius had indeed betrayed them and killed Pettigrew. As time passed, due to many misconceptions, there was many that believed that Black drew his wand and killed Pettigrew before the other even had a chance of drawing. Pettigrew then went into hiding as Scabbers the Rat, hoping to avoid Lord Voldemort's other supporters. As Voldemort had met his downfall on Peter's information, the Death Eater suspected him of being a traitor. Looking for a wizarding family to take him in, he came into the possession of Percy Weasley and, later, Percy's youngest brother, Ron. He was taken good care of while living with the Weasleys, and it was clear Scabbers was an extraordinary rat. He was unusually old for a rat of his species, which normally had a lifespan of just 3 years, yet the Weasley family owned him for 12. The reason he chose to be adopted by a wizard family was so he could keep track of the news within the wizarding world and could hopefully rejoin his master should he return to power. Positioned as he was, he could also bring Harry Potter as a welcome back gift, so no Death Eater would dare claim him a traitor. But he never took action during his time as Ron's pet, because Voldemort was not strong enough to protect him. Despite once biting Gregory Goyle on the knuckle when he attempted to steal Harry and Ron's food, Ron generally thought that Scabbers was useless, since all Scabbers did was eat and sleep. In 1993, Sirius Black escaped from Azkaban after seeing a picture of Pettigrew's rat form in a Daily Prophet article about the Weasley's family trip to Egypt. Soon after, Scabbers began to thin and bald. Ron thought at first this was due to the stress of the trip, and then fear of Crookshanks, Hermione's cat, while Harry thought Scabbers was finally reaching the end of his lifespan. In fact, he had been agitated by the news of Sirius Black's escape from Azkaban, afraid that he would find him and finally avenge the Potters. Eventually, Pettigrew faked his death yet again by biting himself and leaving blood, allowing Ron to believe that Crookshanks had eaten the rats. The incident almost ruined Ron and Hermione's friendship until they reconciled over helping Rubeus Hagrid appeal his defence of Buckbeak the Hippogriff. Hermione later discovered Pettigrew hiding in a milk jug in Hagrid's cabin and demanded an apology from Ron. That same year, Remus Lupin, who had been unaware of Pettigrew's duplicity and believed him to be dead, began teaching defence against the dark arts at Hogwarts. He began to suspect the truth when he saw Peter's name appear on the Marauder's map, a charmed parchment created by him and his friends that came into Harry's possession through Fred and George Weasley. When Ron attempted to bring Scabbers back to the castle after Hermione's discovery of his pet, the rat tried to escape, but was caught by Ron in the shadow of the Whomping Willow. There, Ron and Pettigrew were dragged into the Shrieking Shack by Sirius in his animagus form, followed immediately by Ron's friends Harry Potter and Hermione Granger. After a heated discussion and the arrival of Professors Lupin and Snape, Pettigrew was unmasked by Sirius and Remus. He initially attempted to redirect the blame to Sirius, but when the truth came out and all the evidence was against him, he appealed for mercy to each person in the shack. Each of them was disgusted by his cowardice, and the fact that he would dare ask them for mercy after deceiving them in so many ways infuriated them even more. Remus and Sirius planned to kill their old friend, but Harry intervened after Pettigrew claimed that Harry's father James would have never have killed him. This, along with Harry's own belief that his father would not want his best friends to become killers, led him to be merciful. Although Harry had intended to hand Pettigrew over to the Dementors and use him to clear Sirius's name, at last, this created a life-debt between Harry and Pettigrew. The plan was upset, however, when the full moon rose and, as Remus has forgotten to take his Wolfsbane potion after discovering Pettigrew's name on the Marauder's map, he transformed into an uncontrollable werewolf. Sirius was then forced to take on his animagus form, that of a dog, to protect Harry, Ron and Hermione. And Peter took advantage of the chaos, cursing Ron with Remus's wand, transforming into his rat form, and fleeing the scene. After his escape from capture at Hogwarts, Pettigrew had no choice but to rejoin his master, lest Sirius and Remus kill him. He went to retrieve Voldemort's wand, then travelled to Albania, where he learned from the rats there of a place in the forest where the creatures feared to travel. They said of a dark shadow who took over the animals and killed them. On his way to his master, Peter ran into Bertha Jorkins, a ministry witch who was on holiday in Albania, while he had stopped at an inn for food. Although she recognised him, Pettigrew was able to lure her into the forest and overpower her before handing her over to the Dark Lord. Under torture, Jorkins gave them the information that helped Voldemort make plans for an attack on Harry Potter, including the information on the Triwizard Tournament and the location of a fateful Death Eater. She was later hit by a memory charm so hard that she suffered permanent brain damage. When Voldemort killed the irreparable Bertha, Peter felt that it was unnecessary, believing they should have modified her memory and that her disappearance would not go unnoticed. Pettigrew milked venom from Voldemort's snake Nagini to strengthen the Dark Lord and provide him with a rudimentary body. He carried Voldemort's weak, small body on the long journey back to Britain, where they took up temporary residence in the Riddle House outside of Little Hangleton. Voldemort called Peter by his marauder name, Wormtail. The Dark Lord did not possess Wormtail, as he had been deemed dead by the wizarding community and would have attracted too much attention. Over time, Pettigrew tried unsuccessfully to convince Voldemort to use a wizard other than Harry Potter to rebuild his body, whom Pettigrew offered to capture if Voldemort would permit him to leave his side for a few days. But Voldemort saw this as an attempt at desertion and claimed that Peter was regretting ever returning to him in the first place. Voldemort noted how Pettigrew always flinched when he set eyes upon him and shuddered when even touching him, which further enforced his belief that Pettigrew would have escaped if given the opportunity. Knowing that if Pettigrew is not there to milk Nagini's venom and feed him, Voldemort would lose his strength, which further enforced that he cannot let his servant leave. When the Dark Lord ordered Wormtail to turn his chair around so he could face Frank Bryce, Wormtail whimpered before doing so. Pettigrew took Voldemort to the Crouch's family home to free Barty Crouch Jr., the fateful Death Eater Jorkins had mentioned, and in turn subjugate Barty Crouch Sr. For his next assignment, Pettigrew was sent with Barty Jr. to capture former Auror Alistair Moody, who was set to teach defense against the dark arts at Hogwarts. Pettigrew played an important role in the rebirth of Lord Voldemort. When Harry Potter was delivered to the Little Hangleton graveyard per Voldemort's plot, Pettigrew murdered Cedric Diggory on his orders and performed the ritual on Harry. He sliced open Harry's arm with a large knife to restore Voldemort to a physical body, even reluctantly sacrificing his own hand. As a reward for his assistance, Voldemort replaced the hand with a silver one. After Pettigrew helped Voldemort return to full power and attain a fully regenerated body, Peter was sent to Severus Snape's house at Spinner's End to assist him. However, Snape treated Pettigrew as a mere servant. Peter was at the house when Narcissa Malfoy made the unbreakable vow with Snape, with Bellatrix Lestrange serving as bonder. He did not, however, hear its contents as he had been ordered out of the room by Snape after he was caught eavesdropping at the door. In the summer of 1997, Peter Pettigrew was staying at Malfoy Manor, the headquarters of the Death Eaters, and acted as gaoler for those imprisoned in the cellar there. During the meeting, he was ordered by Lord Voldemort to check on their prisoner, Garrick Ollivander, the wand maker in the cellar, and keep him quiet. Ollivander had been forced to make a new wand for Pettigrew. He also kept an eye on Charity Burbage, the Muggle Studies professor at Hogwarts at the time. He, along with all the other Death Eaters present, watched as Voldemort murdered her with a killing curse, and then fed her body to Nagini. Around Easter of 1998, at the height of the Second Wizarding War, Harry, Ron, Hermione, Dean and Griphook were brought to Malfoy Manor by a group of snatchers led by Fenrir Greyback. Bellatrix Lestrange isolated Hermione for interrogation and torture, asked her how the trio obtained the Sword of Gryffindor, which she thought was secure in her Gringotts vault. When they heard a noise from the cellar below, Pettigrew was sent to investigate. The noise that they had heard was House Elf Dobby apparating away with some of the prisoners from the cellar. When he opened the door, he was tackled by Ron and Harry, who had freed themselves of their restraints. Ron managed to wrestle Pettigrew's wand from him. He began to strangle Harry, but Harry reminded him that he owed him a life debt. When Pettigrew hesitated, his brief moment of mercy caused his silver hands to turn on him, strangling and killing him, despite Harry and Ron's best efforts to restrain it. And that is all for today's video, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to the channel if it is your first time watching, and if you're a fan of the channel and feel like you'd like to contribute, my restructured Patreon account is up and running, and in exchange for your contribution of a minimum of $1 a month, there are many rewards you can receive, like suggesting one of my upcoming videos, exclusive Patreon only videos for you to watch, and even one-to-one Skype calls where we can hang out and talk everything Harry Potter or anything in general. So please make sure to check out some of my other videos on the left hand side of the screen. My second channel, Game of Thrones Lore, is on the right hand side of the screen. And if you want to check out some merch, I've got a merch store on the bottom right, or you can click the link in the description below. Thanks again everyone, and I hope you all have a great day.